So, oftentimes people online will make it seem like investing in real estate is a dream. Just invest in the property and let the passive income roll in. Well, I'm here to share my experience when I first got into real estate investing and how my passive income dreams turned into a nightmare, as well as the lessons I learned and what I chose to do differently when it came to real estate moving forward. Yes, real estate can be a powerful pillar of wealth, but it is not always pretty. Hey everyone, my name is Bola Shokumbi. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Girl Finance. I'm also the six-time author of the Clever Girl Finance book series, including my most recent book, Clever Girl Millionaire. Welcome to Clever Girl Finance TV. So today I'm sharing another story about my wealth building journey or from my wealth building journey that I haven't often shared and I don't think I've shared in full detail at all until now. I'm going to be talking about my experience as a landlady. And so in my new book, Clever Girl Millionaire, I talk about four pillars of prosperity that have helped me become a millionaire and build long-term wealth over time. And those pillars are number one, earned income, number two, investing, number three, real estate, and number four, entrepreneurship. And this is a lesson I learned while attempting to build my number three pillar of real estate. Keep in mind that when it comes to these four pillars of prosperity, you don't need to have all of them to build wealth. You can build wealth with one or two combined, or you can layer them all together. And so I'm talking about my experience with real estate investing. So let me give you the setup to when I thought I was a real estate investing mogul. So several years ago, I had purchased two rental properties. I bought them one after the other over a period of about 2 years. I had run the numbers, I had my spreadsheets laid out, I could see my passive income. I was feeling like a real estate mogul. Then I found great tenants for the properties. Good, they looked good on paper, they had great credit, they had paid their bills on time, etc. I was happy. They had the good job, the good references. And so I was like, sure, I'm going to give you these properties to be my tenants and I'm going to be your landlady. So let's talk now about when passive income gets messy. So in one of the properties, everything was going well to begin with. Rent was paid on time, there were no issues. And then as the months started to go by, there started to be issues basically. Rent was coming late, neighbors started complaining, and then police would show up every now and then it became a communication nightmare with this tenant. It was excuses after excuses, and then radio silence, more complaints from neighbors, another police incident, and it just went on like that. And I get it. Sometimes life happens to people, right? Job loss happens, family situation happens, people go through down seasons in life. Maybe you struggle to pay your rent every now and then. I totally understand that. But then I started getting more complaints from the neighbors. They were calling saying there were loud parties, people were fighting, the tenant was rude and all kinds of stuff, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to need to try to reach out to her and have a conversation. Multiple times I tried and I got cursed out to the high heavens. And so I was like, you know what, Bola, try to extend grace because, like I mentioned earlier, life happens, people go through situations, but she just wasn't even interested in the grace that I was trying to extend. She was essentially a nightmare. She would curse me out, send me hideous text messages, curse out the neighbors. It just became this whole situation that was no longer sustainable, not just for the neighborhood and from my property but also from a financial perspective because I was now covering the mortgage completely because I was no longer getting my rent payments. And so suddenly I was no longer just a landlady. I was now a property manager, a conflict negotiator. I don't know what to call it when you get cursed at on the phone, but I was everything I didn't want to be other than being a landlady. And so the passive income was no longer passive. It was stressful and expensive. And so I made the decision to pursue the eviction process because it was no longer sustainable for me to be paying for this mortgage in addition to all the other expenses I had outside of this particular investment. So when we got to court, the judge asked her why she hadn't been paying her rent. Perhaps it was because she lost her job, perhaps she was going through a difficult season. Guess what my tenant said? She was like, "Well, I haven't paid my rent because my parents didn't teach me the value of a dollar." And I want to pause here because I actually do have empathy for that. A lot of us did not grow up with financial education. There weren't people out there telling us how to save, how to budget, what a 401k is, how to invest, etc. Many of us have had to learn this on our own. For me, my parents did try to guide me around money and they did the best that they could. But when I moved to the United States as a first generation immigrant, they didn't know what they didn't know. They couldn't educate me about investing in the US or about the credit system, etc. So I do understand when somebody says their parent didn't teach them about money. And based on that alone, there can be a real gap when it comes to our financial literacy. But at some point, especially when we're adults, we have to take ownership for our financial lives because no one else is going to do it for us. Anyway, let me get back to this story. So, when it came to the legal fees, the lost rent, the damage she did in the house, it got really expensive and the emotional toll was even worse because I was like, what did I miss when it came to this tenant? What did I not pay attention to? Did I make such a hasty decision that I missed certain things that could have shown me the red flags about how she was going to behave? And so, all said and done, it took several months to evict her. It eventually did happen. In the process, she did more damage because she was so annoyed I was kicking her out of the house. But what I learned from that experience was that when it comes to investing something in real estate, I went into it looking at it like a side thing, like a side investment, like something that would just flow passively, but it wasn't. It was very involved and it can be very involved when it comes to real estate. And as a landlord, landlady of your property, you actually do want to be involved. So, number one was not going in with the right mindset or perception of what it was going to be. Now I know better. Number two was making sure I had a system in place when it came to communicating with my tenant or managing conflict with the neighbors, etc., because it really dragged on longer than was necessary and it left everybody with a bad taste in their mouth. Myself, the neighbors, even the tenant that was being a nightmare, and even our local law enforcement that kept having to go there because the tenant and the neighbors were not getting along. Also, another lesson I learned was being extra prepared for surprises. Like, I didn't expect my tenant not to pay her rent for months, literally like 6 to 8 months. She didn't pay her rent. I didn't expect that. And so I ended up having to pull money out of other things like my emergency fund when I ran out of my house fund, like the fund I put aside for this property, because I didn't put aside enough money. So that was another lesson that I learned that when it comes to investing in physical real estate where I'm renting a property out, I actually need to have a full blown emergency fund. The same way I have 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months emergency savings for myself, or I tell other people, is the same way I need to have that 6 to 12 month emergency savings for my property in the event that something goes wrong, something needs repairs I don't have insurance or warranty for, or they stop paying their rent. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And then check out my new book, Clever Girl Millionaire. In this book, I talk about this particular story and other stories when it comes to lessons I have learned from mistakes I have made on my wealth building journey to becoming a millionaire. I also deep dive into the 4 pillars I referenced at the beginning of this video when it comes to creating a strategy that is unique to you, that works for your lifestyle, when you're thinking about building wealth and pursuing your long-term goals. Additionally, I break down the full story of my investments, how I invested in the past, and what I do to invest my money now. You can find this book wherever books are sold, and then stop by clevergirlfinance.com and check out our over 30 plus completely free courses where we go over things like budgeting, investing, rebuilding credit, teaching kids about money, all the principles I also talk about in my book, Clever Girl Millionaire. Okay, let's get back to the video. So if I were to really highlight the 3 most important lessons, I would say number one, cash flow is greater than appreciation. So for me, the property value, even though it may have been appreciation, didn't really mean anything to me because my monthly numbers were not working because she stopped paying her rent. So it worked until the rent stopped. And the reason why I say cash flow is more important than appreciation is because I can't just turn around and sell my property in one day. It can take months to sell a property, and it also comes with expenses. So I'd rather get positive cash flow uh, from a rental investment than be focused solely on appreciation. Number two, always screen and then screen again. Screen those tenants, even if you are desperate to rent the property. For me, I was excited. I was renting my first rental properties out. I got a tenant in the first one, I got a tenant in the second one. I was excited. I certainly missed something when it came to screening my tenant. And again, it's not because she was a bad person, she just wasn't the right fit for me. And so when you are desperate or you're overly excited, it can cloud your judgment. Do not skip on your due diligence. Call the references, dig deeper, make sure it feels good in your gut. And then finally, it is okay to pivot. I eventually ended up selling both properties. I took a break from investing in real estate for a short period of time, and I shifted my strategy when I came back to it. So, do I still invest in real estate today? And the answer is yes, but I do it differently this time around. Today, I invest in REITs, real estate investment trusts, for simplicity. This is where investors pool their money together and invest in a trust that's similar to a fund. I don't ever touch or see or go close to any physical properties. I just invest my money and get my return. So I do that for simplicity, and I do that through my brokerage. I use Fidelity, that's my brokerage of choice, and they have a bunch of different REITs tied to rental property, commercial real estate, farmland, etc. Do your research if it interests you and pick what you think will work for you. And then my husband and I are also part of group real estate projects where we invest in physical real estate, but not on our own. We do it alongside other investors. And so this approach does not require us to manage those properties directly. We're not chasing tenants. There are no 2 a.m. texts. There is no cursing, being cursed out by anybody. Again, simplicity. Now, based on my experience, it does not mean that being a landlord, being a landlady, being a land person is a bad idea. In fact, a lot of people, I have many friends who have successfully built wealth from real estate by leveraging their earned income into buying real estate and leveraging the positive cash flow that they get from their real estate investments into buying even more real estate. And I have built really big and really solid and profitable real estate portfolios. It can be a great way to build long term wealth, but it has to work for you. And you have to be able to go through the motions of being that landlady, landlord. And you can make it easier for yourself by having property management and etc. But building that cost into your overall expense budget and keeping your cash flow in mind. Because the bottom line is that when you're investing in real estate, number one, you want to prioritize positive cash flows first, even if your property is appreciating over time. At the end of the day, your long term wealth building strategy has to fit your life, not somebody else's idea of passive income. So, in summary, the bottom line to this video is don't let one mistake deter you from pursuing a goal or an avenue that you want to explore to building wealth. I could have let that tenant deter me from investing in any real estate whatsoever, but I still do because I took the lessons, I changed my approach, and I invest differently. It could be that I chose never to invest in real estate again, and that is also perfectly fine because there are other ways to invest your money. There is not only one way to build wealth, there are many different ways to build wealth. So let me know, have you dabbled in real estate? Are you considering it? Have you had any good or bad experiences? Share in the comments. I would love to know. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video.